There are still so many PS2 games that are available that have either been forgotten or would love to see a new breath of life within them. Over time, some games have become rare or hard to find. Some were good when they came out, but never have been re-released on a later console. The games chosen are ones that I have played or would like to see get a re-release so a new generation can play them without the expense of buying the classic. Let me tell you, some games are super expensive. $150 or more. Is it worth it? Maybe, but that's quite a hefty price for just one game. So let's dive into some games that I think would be cool to get remade that are exclusively on the PlayStation 2. Number 6. Shinobi and Nightshade. Shinobi and Nightshade are games that were released on the PlayStation 2 and never have been re-released, so it would make sense to remake these games in my opinion. Starting with Shinobi. Shinobi is a hard game. The mechanics and camera needs work just like any PlayStation 2 game could have during that time. I really enjoyed the game. Remaking the game means that these mechanics can be redone in a way to make the gameplay smoother, but keep the difficulty that the game once had. Being able to see the environment in a new light will make sense too. Along with the new graphics, it would be nice to see new elements in the game as well. I'm sure there is a lot that can be done in both games. Nightshade is the sequel to Shinobi. While I'm not sure if the story needs to be expanded upon for either, it would be nice for more detail to be added to both. Just like Shinobi, Nightshade is a difficult game as well. Just like Shinobi, redoing the graphics and mechanics will make the game so much smoother. Something that I look for in every game that is remade. I think this can get fans that like ninja games into a series that has been good for a long time, but hasn't quite seen the light of day like other games. Ninja Gaiden, for example, overshadows the Shinobi series. Number 5. Okami. Okami. I love this game. It introduced the god wolf Amaterasu. Its story is amazing. I love the idea of a game that takes a land that has been corrupted by evil and making it beautiful again. The combat is great, though it can use some rebalancing. Some things are just overpowered. Doing so grants Amaterasu praise for her works. The people have forgotten about the gods, and it's up to Amaterasu to restore the land. She needs praise to do this, though. What I'd like to see in this remake, if it is to be considered, would be, of course, the graphics upgrade. I imagine how much better the graphics will look for a game like this. It doesn't even have to be realistic, just cleaner and more detailed. At least as detailed as it can get, as long as it's in the same cel-shaded vein. The other things that would be nice to see in a remake of Okami is a rebalance on the fighting and maybe another take on the combat itself. After so many years, I'm sure there are plenty of ideas that can be used to do this while making sure it doesn't go too far off the path of the original Okami. I love the story. It's great. I also wonder if they would add more detail to the story. Maybe you can fight a Shinobi before you play Okami. Maybe a side story with other characters like Waka and what the characters is all about. There is so much that you can add to the game and flesh it out. Sure, we have an HD upscale version of the game. I think a remake of this game could do wonders. Even introduce new people to the franchise. Hell, maybe even revive the series. Amaterasu did make an appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 after all, so why not hope for the best? Number 4. Maximo. Maximo seems to be a long-forgotten series that is a 3D adventure of the Ghouls and Ghosts series. Whatever happened to it? It was only on the PlayStation 2 and then never seen again. Sure, you can get Maximo Ghosts of Glory on the PlayStation Store, but what about Army of Zen? Both are really good games that I think should be remade. Just talking about it gets me excited. There is a lot that can be done with the game. The graphical overhaul would be really interesting. You can go for a more realistic approach or keep it with the art style that it originally had, but have it be more defined. There is so much more that you can add to these games. I would like to see some new levels added as well. Not only that, but have Arthur as an unlockable character. You can have different skins for the characters, new weapons in addition. Hell, you can change the mechanics of the game easily to adapt to a new generation of gamers. I feel like it would make a great addition to this generation. It's another Halloween-like game that many people love these days. We have a lot of horror fans, and the atmosphere of the game fits so well into this. We had a remake of Medieval, so there is no reason why this shouldn't be made. Sure, it was a PlayStation 1 game, but we have also had PlayStation 3 games be remade as well. So there really is no excuse. Bring these games back. Number 3. Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. Alright, I put these two together because they're both on the PlayStation 2 and pretty much have the same things to be redone. Metal Gear Solid 3 has some other differences aside. So let's go over Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. Metal Gear Solid 1 had its remake on the GameCube, so it leads me to think it is a bit overdue for a remake of Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. Each game has their own story that really ties into the other. The story is so well done in each game, it really drags me in, so I definitely think the story should be untouched. The graphical overhaul would be amazing in both, probably even more so in Metal Gear Solid 3. Imagine a very realistic styled jungle. Love it. So the graphics would be the definite change I'm looking for, but there's a lot more to Metal Gear Solid than just graphics. For example, the voice actors. I can't imagine someone else voicing the role of Snake other than David Hayter. It has happened in Metal Gear Solid 5, but honestly, I prefer David Hayter. That really makes me question who they would get to voice these characters. Every single character that was voiced felt like that fit the character, at least to me. I suppose it would be wait and see. The gameplay can be tweaked a little bit, but I'm not sure how. I'm sure camera angles can be readjusted to better suit a situation, but I was overall fine with it to begin with. Of course, this is someone that is talking about a game that came out for the PlayStation 2, and wouldn't really know how to update the game to today's standards. Perhaps making the gameplay more like Metal Gear Solid 4 or 5 could be one way to go about it. Number 2. Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3. I was going to just put Devil May Cry 1 and 2 here, but why not the entire series? I love the Devil May Cry series, and if anything needs to be remade the most, it would be Devil May Cry 2. However, I'm going to go over the games one at a time. I'll state this though, better graphics are definite for all of them, so I won't talk about it in the breakdown. Devil May Cry 1. This is what I would like to see. The mechanics of the game have been great since I first played the game, but there are a lot of adjustments that can be made. I would like to see the controls be tighter. I would also like to see a quick swap option for weapons. Sure, we had that somewhat when switching between Alistair and Ifrit, but that takes time. Just make it a quick swap. Also, the gun should be a bit more balanced. In the original, you can use the grenade launcher and cancel it to fire quicker. I feel that should be adjusted for it as well. I feel the double trigger works really well in this game, so I would just adjust it accordingly if at all. That, and just adjust to see any moves learned at all. Finally, add a Bloody Palace mode. Those are awesome. Devil May Cry 2. Well, Devil May Cry 2 is like the ugly duckling, but it's okay. We can change that. It'll be okay. It'll never be as great as other Devil May Cry games, but it can hold its own gameplay-wise. That was what was mainly broken. Sure, the story wasn't great either, but they can work on that as well. If it was remade, it could be changed in a way that fits better. So, what I would like to see is this. Its mechanics are in between Devil May Cry 1 and 3. The transition was quite rough. Just make the mechanics more like Devil May Cry 3. Also, I know it was probably cool to float in the air shooting your guns. That only lasted for a while before realizing guns are overpowered and your main weapons are just kind of junk. Why this was done, I have no idea. Rebalance the weapons entirely. Getting them closer to your opponent should be more rewarding than shooting them from afar. You can see how that worked in Devil May Cry 3. Hell, they had that done well in the first Devil May Cry. Why change it? So make the characters less floaty and more like Devil May Cry 3. Balance weapons, all of them. Just overhaul the game in its entirety. The one thing that I do like about the game is the Desperation Devil Trigger. It's kind of a gimmick to the game in my opinion though. Depending on how it's told, we could have the same mechanic as Devil May Cry 5 to take the bar and transform into the more powerful version of his demon form. Devil May Cry 3. Alright, I talked about the first two a lot. Now for 3. What would I like to see changed in it? Honestly, I'm a fan of 3. I don't think there's anything that I can say should be changed gameplay-wise, and we already know graphics would be enhanced. So basically, just give it a facelift. Maybe give Virgil his own levels and flesh out his story. Add an adventure for Lady in Arkham would be cool too. Finally, enhance the dialogue in all cutscenes. This would be awesome. Number 1. Haunting Ground. Yes, this game. Why? There's a good reason for it. It was cut short and there aren't many copies of the game out there. The last time I looked on eBay for it, it was about $300 used, disc only. The disc was pretty worthless looking as well. Scratches and fingerprints all over. So how are we supposed to play the game? Emulation? Isn't that taboo? I don't know anymore. Sadly, the game was never re-released either. Capcom doesn't even ignore the game either. There is a costume for Cammy in Street Fighter, the main character Fiona for her. There have also been some other references to the game through other cameos in other games, like Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. It could be the fact that it is a survival horror game that maybe didn't quite take off like Resident Evil, so they decided to focus on what the majority of their fans want. I can't blame them for that. However, it would be awesome to see a remake of this game to get a chance to play the game. I'm sure there are many things that come to mind with the changes that they can make to the game. Who knows? If they remake the game, it might relight the flame for wanting more of the game. If not a remake, I would definitely settle for a re-release of the game. That should at least be done for a game so rare. Thank you for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. See you in the next video.